As I said earlier, this is about across borders. We're not just inside Accenture. The locations we've visited so far are inside the Accenture offices around the world. Now we're going to go live to, it has to be said, a pretty big venue. All I can say is my good friend Marco Ziegler in Cincinnati has a great production budget. I think, Marco, you're joining me now as we go to our friends over at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati at their HQ. Hello, Marco.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everybody. And I'm absolutely impressed how well you managed time to bring us back on time, because we're all nervous about running late, but that's fantastic. So a proud day to be part of Accenture. Fascinated to hear from friends around the globe, in Manila, in Bangalore, in London. Great panel, great insights, but an even prouder moment of myself to be, as the client account lead for Procter & Gamble, being responsible for the relationship for one of our best clients, but also as a gay man and as the LGBT sponsor of the North American network. Are we still there? Oh, perfect, because I lost it. So here in Cincinnati, together with my great client. So thank you, P&G, for hosting. Thank you for having us. But enough said, we're moving to our next section of the agenda, which I'm personally very honored and delighted to introduce our next guest. A fascinating person, fascinating background, as more as I've learned about Dr. Martine Rothblatt, having done a little bit of the research and reading about Martine the last couple of days. So we're going to do the next 20 minutes or so a fireside chat around hearing some of the fascinating background from Martine. And then after we close the webcast here locally in Cincinnati, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A session as well. So thank you, Martine, for the extra time. But let me introduce Martine, because we meet many leaders around the globe. But Martine is really a fascinating person and a story that includes a fantastic business woman, a trans woman, an author, and I'm trying to memorize all the different things that I read about it. But not only that, but also a loving parent and a spouse, being with your spouse for over 30 years, I think I recall it right. So fascinating. We're going to hear much more about you. Many of us know Martine probably, hopefully, from our subscription to Sirius XM Radio, but also a founder of a fantastic organization, United Therapeutics, which Martine is going to tell us about. So enough said on that. Let me introduce Martine. Welcome to the show, as Andrew is saying.
Thanks, Marco. It's a real pleasure and honor for me to be here, and I'm so proud of Accenture and Procter & Gamble for convening such a great diversity, inclusion, and pro-authenticity event during Pride Month.
Awesome. Well, welcome, and welcome to Cincinnati. We understand that first time to Cincinnati?
I think so, yeah.
Excellent. I wish we had more time to show you the great things about the city, and I've even coaxed Andrew last year to come to Cincinnati, and he enjoyed it as well. And you did pick the right airport to fly in with, the local airport. Anyway, Martine, welcome. Let's start at the very beginning. When you started your career, college times. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration and the things that started really kicking off your life.
Sure. Well, I always had a great passion for space exploration and sci-fi, and I felt kind of just like one with the wonderful moderator who brought all the different offices of Accenture together. Describing himself as a sci-fi fan. So I love science fiction. I'm a technology geek. I'm a member of Lesbians Who Tech. So all of those things, I was always just like pro-technology.
Awesome. It's amazing because you'll see in the audience physically, but also tuning in into the webcast, multi-thousand folks. There's a lot of folks around technology. So I think it's wonderful to have us here. Tell us about a little bit the Sirius XM Radio. I know, again, we all know about it, but some of the things that you were doing there to bring the company up to speed.
Sure. The main thing about Sirius XM is it's a little bit hard to realize right now, but in the 1990s and before, there would be no more than about 20 or so radio stations that you could listen to in any city. And I know that now it sounds like, people used to read by a gas lantern or something like that, but it wasn't that long ago, just like in the 90s. And I said I was a geek, it's true, so I knew like everything about satellites. I was an expert in that area. And I envisioned that it would be possible to build a more powerful satellite than existed at that time. And a more powerful satellite, it would not require a dish to receive the signal. It could receive a signal from a flat plate. And with a flat plate, it could be built into a car roof, and you could listen to radio stations across long distances because you'd receive the signal from space rather than from a land-based transmitter. And the same technology would allow you to have not just 20 radio stations in Cincinnati and 20 in Cleveland, but it would allow you to have 100, even 200 radio stations in every little tiny town throughout Ohio and throughout the whole country, and in fact, ultimately throughout the whole world. So I decided that I would do this, and I committed my life to doing it. Everybody told me it was impossible, but I would say that more than 500 people told me it was impossible. Even my successor as CEO at SiriusXM, who was then at head of a land-based radio network, Mel Karmazin, he told me when I approached him to invest in SiriusXM, he said, Martine, get a real job. He said, radio stations sell advertising. That's how radio works. Either you beg for money every quarter or you sell advertising. There's only two models. And when you launch your big satellite, Martine, how many people are going to be listening? And I said, well, on the first day, I will for sure. And he said, exactly. And he said, how much are advertisers going to pay for you? And I said, well, probably nothing. I said, but Mel, in time, it will grow. It'll grow virally, and everybody will see how cool it is to drive long distances listening to the same channel, or to have not just rock, and maybe a couple non-commercial stations, but to be able to have 100 different genres and subgenres. And he just blew me off. But now he has my job as CEO, and he's very happy, and he's done an amazing, fantastic job, brought Howard Stern over from land-based radio. So it's a phenomena that I feel like really blessed and fortunate to have been able to see from birth to fruition in my lifetime.
Wonderful. Well, amazing story, but this was really just the starting point. What really sets you apart is that you were born as a man. So tell us about the transition. How did that go? When did it start?
Yeah, the transition was rocky. I knew that I had the way I would phrase it is way too much gender to be just a man in my entire life. And I did strongly identify with women, and I felt in my soul that if I had to pick between two genders, I was a woman. I was not a man. And it's a hard thing to really explain to straight and even maybe even non-trans people that, your mind is running one program, but you are in a world where that program is ununderstandable by anybody. And you have to keep a double consciousness going. The great civil rights writer W.B. Du Bois, he would describe how when you're a black person in a white America, you always have to run a double consciousness. You're thinking who you are, and you're thinking what are other people thinking about you because of the way they perceive you. So it's taxing. And I tell people it's from the biology, it's known that your brain uses up 1/3 of the calories of your whole body. So even though the brain is kind of a small part of your body, it's like a supercomputer. It's just sucking energy in, electricity in. And so if your brain's got to be running well, I'm a woman, but wow, if I come into this office as a woman, I'll be fired because everybody hired me as a man. You can't be your best. And the fact that I was able to pull off my satellite communications career as a woman pretending to be a man, which was the situation, is a miracle. Just like people like Tim Cook, pulled off an amazing career before coming out as gay. So all of us who have lived a part of our life closeted and then came out as who we are, how difficult it is. And at least my experience and the experience of my friends is once you do come out, you get like a renaissance of creativity and a freedom, and like the stress lines disappear, you know, and the ability to focus is so much greater because you're not running two different people in your head at the same time.
Amazing. We know, and your spouse and partner for life has been very supportive, obviously. How was the business community? I mean, that was quite a few years ago when you went through the transition. How did that share? Can you share some perspectives with us?
Yeah, it was, you know, it was uneven, is what I would say. Sirius was not my first satellite communications company, so I had made a fair amount of money for a lot of people on Wall Street from previous satellite communications companies. So some people would say to me, I think they were trying to be supportive. I remember this guy at one big Wall Street bank saying, Martine, because like my old name was Martin, he said, I really don't care if you come to work in a monkey suit as long as you keep making me money, you know. And I think he was trying to be complimentary. I still don't have a monkey suit in my closet. Other people just like cut me off completely, you know, would not answer a phone call or would say really nasty things about me that I would hear secondhand and thirdhand. I was really super blessed that my family was 100% supportive. Beena and I have 4 kids. All 4 of the kids were super supportive, and my parents were totally supportive. So when you have that kind of source of core strength, it helps you in the business world. And ultimately what happened is, I think because I had a good track record, coming out did not lead to my career going into the trash can, as I would say to the majority of trans people I know who have come out. Their lives have just gone straight downhill because of the pervasive transphobia and anger there is. And I salute so much our colleagues from Bangalore and their whole country for establishing like a strong legal status of third-gendered people. And I salute also our colleagues that spoke earlier from Manila in the Philippines in electing an openly transgendered woman to the legislature there. So all of this stuff is encouraging. And of course, to all of our straight allies, to see like tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people come out in support after Orlando. I mean, I flash back to 1973 when, you know, 30 plus gay people were burnt to death in a bar in New Orleans, and nobody did anything about it. They didn't even get a decent burial, much less like, you know, a TV mention of them, or like the Eiffel Tower being in rainbow flags. So people say I'm an optimist, but I say I'm a realist. I mean, let's be realistic. In like 40 years, we've gone to our deaths meant nothing to nobody, that we didn't even deserve a burial, to like the whole world is standing up and saying, we love our LGBT citizens, they're part and parcel of us. This makes me feel humongously proud about our world and happy about our prospects going forward.
Amazing. Anything you can, if you think about folks that are struggling with the transition, any advice you can give? Because that's something as LGBT leaders in our networks, respective networks, we struggle with sometimes how to approach the T side of the LGBT. Can you give some advice to us?
Yeah, I think it's really just your guys' key meme here of authenticity is contagious, and just to be open and authentic. You know, the vast majority of trans people, just like the vast majority of gay or lesbian people, are going to be open to some straight person asking a question. Like, you know, sometimes their questions are somewhat odd. Like, you know, I mean, sometimes they're not so bold as to say, like, how do you make love or something? But we say, like, the way it feels best, and, you know, yeah, you know, just be authentic. And you need to be in a safe place. I'm not going to be somebody who's going to encourage somebody to come out in an unsafe place, because the consequences can be fatal. And it makes me so proud to see Accenture and P&G creating a safe place for their LGBT employees. I was at the Lesbians Who Tech conference in New York that was mentioned by the previous panel. And there you saw, like, Bank of America and, all these, Ernst & Young, all these pinnacles of the economy. And people were saying that, like, oh, we assist our staff with transition support, just like the Accenture staff in Bangalore mentioned that was available. So these kind of things are, like, hugely meaningful and really important. And I want to, like, assure you that the T community, the trans community, we are so happy to be part of the LGBT community. And I mean, it makes our hearts, smile so big that there's like little tears of joy dripping down the corners of the smile. We're so happy to be included in the LGBT community. And I want to just reach out and say thank you to everybody for including us.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. We take it into consideration. We'd love to spend all day together. This is fantastic. But we got about 5 more minutes to converse here. Let me move on to another very fascinating part of yourself and your life. Tell us a little bit about the way you came to United Therapeutics. And being a father of 2 children, the health and the well-being of your children is the most precious thing that you have. And this is an inspirational thing I'd love to share with us. What inspired you? How did this all evolve?
Yeah, sometimes life is strange. Like right after a really good thing, a really bad thing can happen. You just got to like hold through it and get back to the good again. But right after I came out as Martine at SiriusXM, we go skiing in Colorado on vacation. My youngest daughter, whose name is Genesis, she gets very ill and she never recovers. And the bottom line is that after 6 months of all kind of doctors trying to figure out what's wrong, she's diagnosed with a fatal illness, pulmonary arterial hypertension, that there were no medicines available to treat. Her lips were blue. She could hardly breathe. I had to carry her up the stairs to bed every night. And to collapse it into 5 minutes, if there were no medicine, she was dying. She put her on the transplant list, but they said she'd never get a transplant. So I just said, okay, she was the one who said, when I came out, she said, will you still be my dad? And I said, I will. And she says, well, then I love my dad and she loves me. I mean, she's just this beautiful 6-year-old girl at the time. So I said, okay, Genesis, I'm going to cure this disease. And I didn't know how, but I just stopped everything I was doing and satellite radio. I learned everything I could about biology and medicine. To make a long story short, I created a company, United Therapeutics. We were able to develop a medicine, test it clinically, get it approved by the FDA. Now we have 4 medicines for pulmonary hypertension approved by the FDA. Our daughter, Genesis, is healthy, alive, not cured, but just takes medicines every day, works at United Therapeutics every day, helping everyone else. And there are now 40,000 people alive with pulmonary hypertension in the U.S., a like number outside the U.S., instead of 3,000 when I started, because everybody was dying in 2 to 3 years before, and now people can go on to live a normal life.
Amazing. You're marketing it. You market the drug,
yes,
right?
Yes, we market several drugs.
Is there enough out there to cure all of this, or are you? I understand you have another secret, another thing that you are bringing to market that action evaporating and accelerating the cure for all the impacted.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we started, people told me that you could not succeed, Martine. Big Pharma was not interested because only 3,000 people have the disease. It's too small of a market to succeed. But I said, well, the price will have to be more expensive because so few people have it. But if somebody can't afford it, we'll give the medicine to them for free. And so today, again, no matter how good I did in the previous things, people were very skeptical. And especially they said, well, Martine, when you started those other companies, you started them as a man. Now you're like transgendered, would your brain still think like a business person? And it's like, I think so. So anyway, it has showed that I think better because it's like I'm like super focused now. I'm not like running two people. So we went from 0 revenues to now our company is $1.5 billion revenues a year. And you know, this being like a business environment, I could say like over $500 million each year in profit. It's a successful NASDAQ traded company. And I'm most proud of the fact that in the 10 years since we had these drugs on the market, we have not turned away one patient for inability to pay. We provide the medicines to them for free. And in countries where the standard of living is not as high as the US, we provide a GDP adjusted price where we divide US GDP by the target country GDP, multiply that by the US price. So for example, in China, the price is only 5% of what it is here in the US.
Amazing. So again, as I said, a lot more to share about Martine, and the P&G audience will actually be lucky to have some Q&A. But we're handing it over back to Chicago. Martine, thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us. It's been amazing in just the 20 minutes to conversing with you. So with that, back to Andrew in Chicago.
Thank you, Marco. Martine, we have not had the pleasure of meeting. You are an inspiration, thank you. And on a personal note, thank you for providing the backing track to our lives at home down in South Florida with SiriusXM Chill and Spa, which we certainly pull the bandwidth down on. So thank you very much from everyone here in Chicago to you. An inspirational story. We are hugely honored that you shared it with us. Cincinnati are going their way now and continuing a Q&A.